An article that came out of Israel that I think applies very much to the Christian believer in the times we're living in, and just in normal, that you should really take seriously, I thought was worth sharing. They found that the Jews in Israel are too busy studying Talmud to think about God. Now, that's when they've dedicated their lives to study, and that should be to learn more about God. But they're too busy studying Talmud to think about God. Prompting Jewish students to think about God was the thought of one Jewish educational organization which set out to question Jewish middle and high school students as to how much time they devoted each day to thinking and talking about God. The answer was surprising. Despite attending an Orthodox Jewish school, which should be top on focus on God, 80% of them dedicated about 10% to the activity of thinking or talking about God. The explanation for it was lack of time, given the emphasis on Talmudic studies. The response was met by a huge oy vey by Sharon Frendel, Manager Director of Jewish Education Innovation Challenge. The Talmud is a collection of writings compiled by rabbis and scholars from the 2nd to the 6th century CE/AD. I've covered that on how that fits into the books. It contains discussions and interpretations of Jewish law and tradition. But do those ethical, legal, and philosophical elements lend themselves to personal reflections about God? You become so busy with the study of God and the discussions of learned men on their opinions on the Word of God that you lose God in the equation. You're so busy with the things of God, supposedly, that you've lost God in the process and you're dead. And then the letter literally kills. The Spirit gives life. And that is where your focus should be, on the relationship with God, on your focus on God. Talmud is not the Torah. It is not the Tanakh. It is not the Word of God. It is their learned men's opinions and discussions and arguments about said body of work. And there they now find themselves lost, that they're only applying 10% to thinking about or talking about God. That is not even to say how many of them are spending time praying and in deep relationship with God. You can know so much. You can be such a learned professor in Christianity, a pastor or a reverend or a priest or a bishop or whatever title you want to give yourself, with all these doctorates and amazing qualifications behind your name. But you have not God. He is not the focus and the primary point in your life. You have nothing. That man with no studies, no qualifications, no nothing, but combining his entire energy to having a relationship with God and drawing closer to God, has more than said learned, amazing man that the world looks up to. Be careful. Focus on relationship with God. Speak to God. Spend time with God. You can get lost in the things of God and take your eyes off following God. Shalom.